Welcome to Director's Debrief episode. I just realised
What episode are we on?
5, 6? 6. Welcome to Director's Debrief episode 6. Ram, I'll give you free reign on editing that exactly how you wish. Ash, welcome back, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's 2022. Here we are.
Right?
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New
As
Year.
I said.
Yeah.
So just a little side comment. I asked some the question of like, wait, what are we on? The 5th of January, right? For anyone listening. We're on the 5th of January 2022. And I said to Sam, so, you know, in your emails and everything, when do you stop saying Happy New Year?
Yeah.
And Sam smirkily goes, I already stopped saying it, like a real cool guy. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. Some of us still want to wish people Happy New Year. Anyway, proceeds to send an email probably about 20 minutes later with the exact phrase of Happy New Year. So sounds boring to everyone else, but it was a great moment for me just to be like, you're not as cool as you think you are.
Yeah,
there we go.
Thanks. And now it's out in the public for that guy in Russia
There
to
you go,
see.
exactly. He's just probably chuckling away.
Yeah.
I hope. Probably not, but there we go.
All right. Not that I immediately want to sidetrack this conversation from my humiliation, but I saw a great tweet the other day.
Oh, yeah?
And not that I'm on Twitter.
I was just about to say,
I know you're on this mission to get me on Twitter, and I will get there, even though this year's resolution is to get off of social media. We can get onto that in a little bit if you want.
Sure.
But I saw this screenshot of a tweet, and it said, man, I remember back in January last year when I really thought this pandemic was going to take a whole month. It really cracked me up because here we are, like it's COVID-19 as in 2019 and it's 2022
and it actually started in 2018, right? See me in a podcast next week because I didn't go, but so I'll be going to Dubai hopefully for 6 days and it should be sweet.
All right, some context since you got me, I'm going to get you back. But This isn't necessarily an insult, just kind of testament to how hard fucking working you are. The last holiday I recall that you took was, and bearing in mind this is coming to you from Leicester, UK, the last holiday I saw you take was a weekend in New York. Right, you were going to a wedding, I believe. You flew out on the Friday and you were back on the Monday.
Yeah.
You flew out to New York for a week. How long was that flight?
Too long. I don't know.
Probably
UK to London.
In the air,
New York.
In the air for longer than you were on the ground?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was a great wedding though, if
Yeah.
that's any consolation.
The
But,
Instagram looked amazing.
Yeah. I've done that a couple of times. I think I went to India for someone's wedding or something. No, I have my reasons. Like,
Go on.
It's not that I don't like holidays. Of course I do. I'm not crazy in most ways.
Yeah.
But I'm like, when I'm going for some things like a wedding or something, I'm going for a purpose.
Yeah.
And I don't want to... Not that I love my family and everyone I'm going to see, but I don't want to take too much time out for that when kind of that, I have other, I want leisure time and things like that. And weddings and family events like that they're not really much leisure time.
No, I suppose you're running around, you're doing stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
so I don't want to be there for too long and then use up my allocation. I don't have an allocation, but in my head I do, of like, taking some time out. So this is pure chill.
Yeah.
I've got a friend that's out there already at the moment, so hopefully meet up with him and his wife and just hang out a bit.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome
stuff. Really looking forward to it. I
you
think
should.
we've spoken about this a little bit before, that we both had a nice break over the Christmas period.
Definitely, yeah.
Obviously I popped in and out of the office, but nothing like a normal week.
You say that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to air you out again. And
Okay.
I promise this man does take breaks.
Sam's way of airing me out is kind of complimenting you.
I know.
What a hard-working guy he is, and really...
True, but it's also like last year I took 2 holidays. I abroad. I took some serious time off for myself, and it's felt fantastic. And I want you to taste that a little bit, because I know you take your breaks, and you seem to be in the strongest I've ever seen you mentally, most focused, determined, sure. But like, I want you to get a taste for how good breaks are.
Yeah.
But yeah, you say you took some time off. I was out somewhere at 11:30 at night, and no, I'm not going to air you out that bad. But 11:30 at night,
Okay.
and I saw you had emailed.
I don't want to know what you were doing, but I'm sorry that I disturbed you.
You CC'd me into an email that you sent at 11:30 at night, to I think DHL to get a parcel out of quarantine, because you're the only person who would deal with that on like the 30th of December or whatever. Can I? Because I don't. I saw that you also were out on Instagram. So you weren't just at home sending this email, it was like on your phone.
Oh dear, yeah. I mean, whoever's listening to this probably isn't that surprised. So
yeah, okay, good. All right, I didn't want to cause any trouble. All right, we've had our fun, we've had our run. You had a good time over Christmas?
Oh, brilliant, yeah. You feel like I mean, everyone says it, but until you go through it, you feel a whole new lease of life. So certainly ready for a little bit more next week, but yeah, it was really nice. And I think I said it to you that when we yesterday was a real firefighting day. We go through that quite a lot, as everyone knows, but yesterday was one of them. And towards the end of the day, I think you just gone home, and I was like thinking about it. And I was like, just wiping that blood off my face after a day of like fighting things. I was like, you know what? It feels good to be back. There's something about it.
It took me a day.
Yeah,
I felt that today because this is our second day. Well, my second day back. Do you know what we did really well? I think though is we planned our sort of strategy for this year last year. And so whilst I was off for the first time, I genuinely turned off. I barely checked my emails, only to see the 11 o'clock one from you. But because we'd planned all the stuff we were getting up to this year, not everything, but like our strategy for this year, I was really excited to get it going. But yesterday was the first day in like 9 days where I had to get up by a certain time and I had to actually get my ass into gear into work. And so there was a lot of sort of wiping off holiday gunk from the eyes of just like, I'm not used to waking up at this time. But today I was making my coffee in the morning and I felt that like within me, like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
So I think that was the same as your, brushing the blood out your nose.
Why do you feel like that? I was trying to think about it. I haven't quite got my head around exactly where that feeling comes from of good to be back. Is it routine? Is it ready to take on something?
I am a creature of routine. I definitely like I get homesick the first person out of anyone on holiday. I love my routines and I like my things. So it was definitely nice to get back to that routine. But just I was chatting to my friend over the holidays who told me that their job is they're starting to feel like a cog in the machine again. And I realized like it's all too easy to fall into that trap if you don't feel like you're building something really awesome or something really, really cool or making a big enough impact. Yeah. Maybe this is just some cheesy podcast shit I've heard and I'm regurgitating, maybe. No. But it does feel like that, like what we're doing right now. And considering this year is all about like growth, dominating the market space that we're in because we've already got some leeway there. It's a very exciting thing to do. So that's why I'm just rearing to go, because ultimately we're past the phase where like, can we do it? Can we not do it? Like we can do it. Now we've got to let the whole world know we can do it. Yeah. And there's something exciting about that, I think.
I love that.
What did you come up with?
No, I love that. And going to your cog in the wheel, cog in the machine. Sorry. Analogy. It's something that when I decided to do this and not go into the city, into that whole lifestyle. That was a phrase I often used with people. Yeah. And again, I must have read it or heard from someone else, but it just stuck with me that, I didn't want that feeling. And the thing is, I didn't know what it felt like to be a cog in the machine at that point, So I was kind of blindly talking or blindly speaking. And I still am to a certain extent because I've never gone through that. Lucky me, unlucky me, I don't know. But certainly that thought and the issue of where that comes from is when you're, and you say your friend, but when certain people mention it, they're saying, I'm starting to feel like I'm stagnant or I'm in that cog in the machine. That feeling is because, they may be earning well, they may be successful, but they're not able to see the results of their own impact, as you say. Right. And I think that's one of the most fulfilling things. And I'm repeating what you just said here, but one of the most fulfilling things that I see here that, if we try to do something and we say, look, we have our little meeting and debrief here, and then we say, right, this is what we're going to do in the next month. And we have our plans in place. It's amazing that we're actually able to action them and follow through with that. So it's such a great feeling.
I think this is something Ollie touched on in terms of leadership, but where do you think, because every machine needs cogs, you know what I mean? We can shit on cogs all we like, but cogs are pivotal in achieving the bigger, cooler, sexier thing. Yeah. where do you think that responsibility lies? Do you think that's in leadership? Do you think that's right down to company culture? How do you think that the Cogs should how do you enlighten Cogs to see that they're working as part of something bigger, and hopefully inspire them to have a bigger impact on that, so they don't always feel like Cogs in the machine?
It's a good point. And here's something I get really annoyed with is when companies try and wrap up their job or the offering or the opportunity they have into you will have an impact. Your value
Right, of
is
course, yeah.
you are contributing to a bigger picture and all of that. And it's great. Fine, they're trying to show it and things like that. And you can discuss it all you want, but it's so much more deeper than that. And you can say culture, things like that, but really it has to come from that leadership point of view. Mm-hmm. Whoever is leading you has to genuinely trust you and give you that authority. And I'll be honest, I'm the biggest culprit in this, and it's not that I don't trust people around me, but sometimes I do slip up. Sometimes I will do a job just because I'm like, yeah, I just need to get it done and to the best of my ability, or I'm the one who can do it. And if you're not conscious of your leadership style in that way, that'll only fester away, and that will lead to someone feeling like they're just a cog in a machine, because they'll feel like that leader doesn't value me, they could easily replace me. And when people think about that, how they could just easily be replaced, that's when they do feel like they're just a cog in a machine, and they're just like any other person around them, which is really a dangerous place to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
On that part there, have you ever felt like a cog in a machine?
I have. And this is a trait typical to more corporate companies. We're growing, but technically still a startup. And the kind of people we work with are very startup mentality. Anything that can change should change for the better, and all of that stuff. There are different types of machines, I'll put it that way. And at the biggest scale, I worked for a very corporate company. I worked in retail, and I worked as a manager for that company.
Right.
I love to tell this story because I approached this company. They sold phones, and we always got our hands on the latest phone technology. Always, the latest iPhone would come to us. We'd have it a day early.
Right.
And it's like Samsung. So different companies had different deals. Apple, actually, this is very cool. Apple is super strict, as in you get sealed parcels 2 days maybe before launch.
Okay.
You're not allowed to open the seal pre-launch. They once detected a store in London had switched on the phone. Not registered an Apple ID, just switched it on.
Oh.
And that store got hit with a heavy fine. I can't remember what it was, but a very heavy fine. Like, you're not even allowed to look at an iPhone until Apple's ready for you to look at iPhone.
Sure.
But I approached the head office. I emailed them. I was like, look, I've got a media degree. I love working with films, and I'd love to create like a YouTube review channel or something in your name. I don't want to do it in mine because you guys already have the following. And we can get, some younger people engaged with this content, make them desire these phones. And the email I got back was along the lines of, try that shit and we'll sue you. As in, like, don't use our brand whatsoever. Don't use our products in the videos. We just, don't.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, I could have a bigger impact. I could benefit your business, and you've chosen to actively stop me from doing it.
Sure.
Whereas the very next company I worked at, somebody had seen on my CV that I'd studied media. They'd approached me and they said, look, we're presenting at this expo. Can you come and film a highlights reel? We don't have a budget to pay you, but you'll get the day off as per usual, and we'll pay, we'll feed you and whatever, and you get to attend this conference. And it was the Great British Business Expo, and it was fascinating to go down and film. And even though they didn't pay me, I felt like I had more to offer than just what was on the job description.
Right.
And I feel like they were more willing to receive that. But I still felt like a cog in that machine.
Okay.
And so what I think my main point is, because I'm rambling a little bit, is that if you're given that opportunity, you really have to run with it. I didn't. I took that opportunity. I went and filmed, and they were really, really happy with it.
Yeah.
But I never followed up. I never kept in contact with the guy who approached me, and I think they gave an arm, and I didn't really shake it. I didn't really pursue that.
But I mean, the thing there is you had that taste of empowerment, right?
Yeah,
of actually feeling like you can have an impact. And I think that's the most important takeaway from that, whether you pursued it or not.
Yeah.
Having that taste. A lot of people in the city, I'm kind of dissing on the city here, but a lot of people in a lot of jobs for many, many years don't get that taste.
Yeah.
And they could probably go on to be the next best entrepreneurs, but without that taste, you don't really know that you could really have a serious impact on that opportunity. That's really interesting. On the Apple point as well, to my mind, is that before they even like announce them? So like Tim Cook's on stage, or is this when after they've announced it and before they were able to buy them?
This particular, I want to say it was the iPhone 8.
Okay.
And it was going to be available to buy like that week. So
Right.
it might have been announced on stage.
Yeah.
It might have, probably would have done. Knowing Apple, it was probably announced on stage. But we would have had access to physically touch and hold it before anybody else in the country.
Okay.
But we just weren't allowed to. So it was like just so tempting. It's
Yeah,
literally right there.
right.
My store was very well behaved. Thank you guys. But yeah, they very, very controlling company.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Apple also had rules on how you display their phones. So a lot of phones got robbed from phone shops. Shocker, retail phone stores are very, very... The one I worked at got robbed twice a week on average. They're very common to be getting robbed. And Samsung's had like clips around to stop you being able to yank it off. Apple's like, under no circumstances are you to put clips on our phone. Only glue backing and that's it. It needs to be sexy, sleek, easy to hold.
And people can steal it if it's just glue backed?
Yeah, the iPhone 7 came with a matte black finish.
Yeah.
And the glue wouldn't stick to it. So you could literally just pick it up and the puck would fall off and the alarm wouldn't go off or anything.
Yeah.
That phone got stolen maybe 5 or 6 times.
But it's so much... Yeah, I've been on the ones with that claw clip and it's terrible.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's gunky. You can't even feel the phone.
I just want to revert very quickly. I realize we're 18 minutes in and we haven't asked around for the questions. But I want to circle back to the feeling of empowerment, right? When you hired me, I didn't do anything that you hired me to do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
When I first worked for the subsidiary of this company, I worked on social media, I worked on video editing. Then you chose to hire me as a senior operations manager. And I guess my question is, what gave you the confidence to empower somebody? I don't want to make this about me at all. I want sort of other people to take inspiration from this because I'm eternally grateful for that decision. But what gave you the confidence to empower somebody who didn't necessarily come with a boatload of those competencies?
Sure. I guess in that moment and every other moment, I look back on myself a little bit. And before I joined this company, I had nothing but talk, right?
Okay.
I had nothing. Certainly in my head, I was like, I know I can do this. I know I'm capable of management, of growing this business, start turning it into something, consultancy, specialization, things like this.
Yeah.
But I hadn't actually proven anything. I hadn't put any kind of meat on the bone or anything there. So really it was all talk, or it was all just competencies that I saw in myself.
Sure.
So I had to have that confidence in myself to then pursue it through. So circling that back, I now look for those competencies in other people. It's not necessarily, and certainly people in their 20s, 30s, it's likely they haven't had experience in what you, to be honest, at any age, it's likely they haven't had experience in exactly what you're employing them for. But they will show some competencies, and certainly you working in the subsidiary for a short time, I was able to see that in action. It wasn't just an interview. I was able to see certain things that you did, you performed well in. You kind of took really good initiative. I'm not just trying to like kind of make you smile. I genuinely saw this. You took some real. You weren't a leader in your role, but you took very strong leadership initiatives. Okay. And you probably won't even remember them, but I remember them very clearly and vividly. Certainly when in our other business someone wasn't there, you kind of took on that role, and you were like, Ash isn't here, this is what we need to do. And it was great to see, and that's what you really need. The rest can come. You showed a willingness to learn very quickly, as a matter of fact, but you showed a willingness to learn, and I think those are the really important things. So I kind of...
A hiring manager, because I desperately want to divert away from me before I get too red, to a hiring manager who's looking to hire somebody and they want to break the mold. They don't want to just hire based off of experience. What would you tell them to look out for when hiring somebody?
Sure. So in the experience of yours, for example, circling back to yourself, I was we were very fortunate we were able to see you in action. whereas a lot of hiring managers aren't. So for those that aren't in that position and really just have a few rounds of interviews, which is still a good amount of time to figure someone out, I'd certainly do a lot of competency-based questioning. And I used to really hate this when I was doing interviews for companies. And I just felt that it was unnecessary. It was just a bit of corporate blubber, and it didn't really mean much. But certainly trying to not just ask someone like what they've done. Those questions are important. It's good to find out their history and their past. But asking them what they would do in a certain scenario. And it's very obvious stuff, and for any hiring manager, they're going to be rolling their eyes maybe and thinking, yeah, obviously we know that. But the reason for that is you're never going to find someone, you're never going to hire someone, not even Apple would be able to hire someone who has done things that they would like to hire for. Has had the exact experience. What you want to find out is what they would do in that hypothetical scenario, because certainly in some roles, you're going to be thrown with new things that even the company's never faced before. Yeah. And it's how they react and how their mind works. And I think that's really, really important. And like I said, I was lucky enough in your position, when we were hiring you for the main role, to see how you reacted to certain things. And I think that's really important to look for. Yeah. Cool. What do you think to that?
Great answer. Yeah. Yeah, Ram, try and edit that so it doesn't look like I set myself up for a shit ton of compliments there. If you could do that, that'd be swell. Thanks, man.
Definitely gonna edit the other way.
I know. Okay, 23 minutes in. I think we're ready for our first question. Sorry, Ram. Good chat though. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Was good. Yeah. Ooh, if this business failed, would you regret it?
Okay, so I'm gonna take you back, Sam. Do you remember we were in the car? Couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago now. We were driving by and I just had a Eureka moment, or a moment, right? Okay. And we've been growing well up until that point. Obviously been doing about 3 or 4 years now. You joined us a year or so, and we'd been developing. And I said something to you. I was like, so I've had a moment where up until this point, I've been really worried about what we've built and losing it, and that worry of, what if we lose this deal, or what if we lose that? Yeah. And I don't know, some personal growth story or something like that. I said to you, like, if tomorrow we were to lose it all, I think I'd be okay with it. I wasn't 100% there. Yeah. I think I'd be okay with it. And you said something to me and said, I see where you're coming from, but I'm not quite there yet. Okay. Where are you now?
Okay, no, hold on. Were we coming back from a conference in Birmingham?
I think it was around that time. Yeah, I struggled to actually remember what we were doing, where we were going. Yeah, but it was a bit of a deep chat. And,
honestly, I remember you saying that. I don't remember my response. It would make sense around that time. I would have felt like that. No, I'm 100% there now. Yeah, absolutely zero regrets. Yeah,
it's something like. There's certain parts that no one can really take away from us now. Yeah. Like no one. It's encrypted away where it's what we've learned, the experiences we've had, the fact that we've been in rooms that we shouldn't have been in, virtual rooms we shouldn't have been in. Punching far above our weight, certainly in the earlier days. Yeah. No one can take that kind of adventure away, and that experience. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the rest.
I think there is a lot of... I think a question like that, and maybe I'm misinterpreting what Ram's trying to ask here, but a lot of focus there might be a monetary focus. Would you regret your financial decisions, or like not make enough, not saving enough of your income when you had the chance, or doing something like that? But...
sorry. To answer that comes hand in hand with that, because when you fail, and you potentially lose it all, having that knowledge and that experience and that understanding of the world, and like knowing what you can do, I have no doubt we'd be able to get back to where we want to be, or build something new with that confidence. It's like, I don't know, the first time you climb a tree, right? You didn't think you could climb a tree, so you're nervous, you're kind of there. Once you get to the top of that tree, and then you fall down from that tree, are you really that nervous about climbing it again? probably not the same to the same extent as you were the first time. And it's the same with everything else, and certainly with business. And I'm not saying starting a new business is dead easy once you've done it once. You know, you're gonna have to firefight again, whole new adventures, whole new investors, everything there going forward. But you have a certain confidence about you.
Yeah.
And no one can really take that away from you because you've seen it before. You've seen how things can quickly climb with a bit of hard work and optimism. Yeah.
That's absolutely a great point.
So I think that's answered a bit of what he was potentially going for in a better way. Yeah.
I'm not going to try and add too much to this because I think you covered them. I'm going to try and categorize them. There's the experiences, there's the conversations, the closed doors, the open doors conversations, the happy memories we've shared with the team in terms of events. Being in Zoom meetings that, you know, we had no right being in at the time. And yeah, there is just that the firefighting aspect of it as well is just, I don't know, they say you're never as close to being alive as you are when you're close to death, and I think that's it. It's just this constantly, at any moment in time, you can receive an email that's going to end the whole fucking business. We've received a few of those emails, and like you say, once you start swinging and you realize they don't end the business, and you can essentially fight off anything.
Yeah. Then it pushes you in a new direction, right?
Yeah.
Like that whole thing, again, we use cliches non-stop on this, but like when one door closes, another one opens up.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen where the kind of the plan that I had in mind didn't go to plan, or it didn't quite go the way I wanted it to. And then it opened up something that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's happened time and time again. So it gives you this confidence. And I don't know, I was doing something today, I was doing the accounts and I was thinking about the way things would perform, and we're taking new clients on, which is scaling our business, but obviously the expenditures increase and things like that. And I've seen, and you kind of said something to me yesterday that you may remember or not, but it's like over time it all adds up and it comes through. And the penny dropped for me when you said that yesterday, that that confidence is there. We will figure it out. We'll go through. So
absolutely no regrets. And if it all comes crumbling down tomorrow, like you said, there's things that you learn being an entrepreneur, or like a certain level within a certain company that you carry with you for life. Genuinely, like when you see how a business has to manage its finances, you change your entire attitude to how you manage your finances. When you don't let anyone take advantage of your business, you don't let anyone take advantage of yourself. This could be the big stuff of people treating you a certain way, or it could be down to the little stuff.
Right.
We once bought 2 iPads for the warehouse because we needed to use the inventory management software on the fly. I remember you came in and you were like, here are 2 iPads. If we can make it work, great. If not, we'll return them. And as a kid growing up, I've gone through enough, and this is on the minute, small end of the scale, but as a kid, I bought a couple things that I didn't like. Maybe it was a game from HMV or something like that, and I've gone to try and return it. And having worked in retail, I know the manager just didn't want to get their targets affected and they didn't want to dip below. But I came across such a resistance that I let them take advantage of me. I was within my rights. I was within 14 days, original packaging, all of that shit. I was within my right 100%.
Yeah.
And I went to return them, and I would say 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't let me return it. And I let people take advantage of me like that. But the way you came in, like the fact that taken advantage of in that regard was just not even a fucking possibility, has made me change the way I approach certain things in like my personal life, of just like, hey, if I'm playing by the rules, you better play by yours.
Right.
And that's
not even bending the rules. It's sticking by them completely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Final question of the day. What is unique about your role within the business? And just all right, we'll stick with that because the other question was a lot more long-winded and it will take a lot longer to answer. What's unique about being managing director?
So why don't you take that first? What do you find?
Take that. Cool. I get to see both sides in that I think that, over the holidays you came in, you took over a lot of things, you filled a lot of shoes, you wore a lot of different hats, and you get to be involved, but you're kind of distanced, very intentionally so you can work on the business rather than in the business. You mentioned that in an earlier episode. But I've stood in the way of that in a weird way, whereby that aspect of the business, the day-to-day running of it, I sit here and you stand there, which means I get to lean over both sides of the fence. I get to look over at the operations because I'm so involved with Chris, Harvey and their respective teams. And then I get to sit in on some meetings with you and Ollie where we're pitching to clients. And I fucking love that. I love that I get to because, Chris and Harvey and their team are doing a way better job of handling the operations than I ever could. Collectively, their brains are working together and they're doing some really cool stuff. So I get to look over, I get to offer my opinion, but generally I'm like, you guys are so involved, you'll probably know what's best.
Sure. But you're keeping that eye overall. Yeah,
absolutely, because it's no longer my job to make sure they're doing what they need to be doing. It's my job to make sure they have the tools and resources to be able to do what they're doing.
Sure.
But again, it's so cool that I get to go to client meetings with you and spend some time finding out what they want. We had a meeting with our software partners that we work very, very closely with, and we were offering some insights, and I was like, only we would know that. Like, they're selling the software to these to these prospective clients, and they know they are fixing a problem. They know they are doing this. But we offered some advice, and I was like, that is a specific pain point that 2 separate clients brought to us within a week.
Yeah,
it's the exact same pain point, and we highlighted that to them. And it's cool. That was like, to me, quite eye-opening, because I've seen stuff here and I've seen stuff there.
Sure.
And that's quite unique for me, and I absolutely love that.
I'd say out of everyone in the business, you've probably got the best holistic view of the entire business at this moment in time. Because, like you say, you're going from the day-to-day, how the operations are going, what's actually going on, and you've got your eye completely on that, to then actually seeing where we're going. And you're dipping in and out of client meetings, getting involved. Everyone knows you now. Most of our clients do. You're getting that full view. So I'd say certainly you've probably got that full holistic view, and that's great, because I come to you I'm like, what's going on here, and you're able to answer the different points. So yeah,
I tell you what though, it's the scariest thing, not to tell the managing director of this business, but like the scariest thing is when you're like, what happened here, and I have no idea. Like that, it's horrifying to me, because I'm like, I fucking should know. It's in Suits where he's like, oh, he didn't know? That's not my problem. My problem is it was his goddamn job to know. And it's something Harvey said, and it's stuck with me for all eternity.
Yeah.
I'm like, you ask me something and I don't know, and I'm like, it's my fucking goddamn job to know. But yeah, sorry, what's unique about you?
Harvey Specter, he knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff.
What's unique to me? It's an interesting one, but whilst I'm not quite involved in the operations, I'm certainly with the admin team. I'm involved with overlooking them and kind of directing them. And it's great. As much as it's, I'm certainly, when we hit the ground running yesterday, straight after the new year, trying to get everyone was fairly back into it, but, really trying to rejig the team up, get them back into their working mode and everything there. And I love that. It almost, without trying to blow my own trumpet, it feels like I'm a conductor of this, of the orchestra, like, yeah, guys, we go. And those guys are smashing their own individual roles and absolutely doing an incredible job. You're kind of steering the ship to, have you guys checked that, or have you double checked with this client, and so on. And I love that about my role. So that's a great part of it, but also the development of where the business is going. If there's one thing I love doing is like visualizing the future and where we're going. It doesn't mean that I'm like, this is exactly how we're going to do things and this is a concrete plan, but certainly trying to visualize how the whole industry is going, where we at WP fit in with that picture. Are we a side thing, or are we a core part of steering this industry forward? And we say that often, right? Bringing healthcare into the digital age is what we're doing. And I love thinking, certainly all times, not just when I'm in the office, but how we are actually doing that, and actively what more could we be doing to grow in that space.
I'm curious about some challenges that come with that, because you are by far one of the biggest advocates for, and I'll explain what I mean by this, but one of the biggest advocates for being dynamic and flexible. In that, I remember some of my greatest failures when I first took on this role was trying to implement rules and structures, and I have done that over time, but I've had to learn to do it more dynamically and more flexibly. That's some of the struggles I've come across, because I've realized in the business that I joined, there was no room for just this way and go along that way and whatever. What are some of the difficulties that you come across when you're trying to maintain this flow, maintain everything as dynamic and flexible? To give you an example, we can change direction of the ship whenever. That's a huge pro. That's a huge great thing. But do you come across any sort of hindrances to that?
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm trying to recall who said this quote, but I think it was Jeff Bezos of be clear on the vision or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Be clear on the vision, but be flexible in the finer details of how you're going to get there. And it means that whilst we're steering the ship and it's going in a different direction, I don't think for one moment we've really stepped away from what our vision was, which was disrupting this industry.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, yes, we've specialized in certain areas and we've adapted to different client needs and probably changed certain areas quite a few times. But our vision has stayed clear. Yeah. And I think it doesn't quite address your question of how do I overcome those challenges, but it's being okay with trying a few different things as long as we're heading in one direction and being clear. Because if we were changing our entire direction, our entire goal every single time, it'd be very confused. And I think we'd lose focus of exactly what we're doing. Yeah.
I realized as I asked you that was a very, very difficult question, but you handled that.
Yeah, I think, I think that could be a whole couple of podcasts in itself. Yeah. But no, it's great. Great question.
Awesome. Man, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful time in Dubai. Did you say where you were going, or do we need to bleep that out?
No, that's all right.
Okay, cool. Have a great time.
I hope that Russian guy's not going to stalk us. But yeah, it should be nice.
Yeah, man. Nice next week, we asked Ram to prepare some questions. We were going to film this last year, but COVID, Omicron and whatnot, to keep people safe, we didn't want 3 people on camera. But since Ash is away next week, it's going to be me versus Ram. Ram's asked the team for some very difficult questions. You guys finally get to meet Ram. You've heard his voice. You've heard him in the background. I've said some less than pleasant things. Some wonderful things too, but I think that's fueled his rage and it's made him full of questions and burning desires to really shoot me down in front of the camera. I will be equally equipped and I'm very excited for that. Ash, would you like to sign off?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for listening, watching, wherever you are, however you're watching, listening. Be sure to subscribe or like this video on certain platforms as well. And let us know in the comments what you want to hear more of. Do you like this? Do you actually think this is really bad? Just let us know. We're all about continuous improvement here at WP.
Yeah.
Take it easy, guys.